Let me tell you about one of the most amazing experiences in my life, the chance to enter the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. They are now decommissioning it, taking it apart, and I was able to join a tour of specialists from abroad. So it's one of really most amazing chances to actually be there and to understand what it happened, how it happened, and why it takes such a long time and such a huge amount of money to eliminate everything and to clean the area. So this is the electric company, the ones who are owning the nuclear plant. And here they are going to teach us about how the situation is now at this Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station. And there is, as you can see, a lot of documents like what is treated water, what is tritium, everything in English. And inside
第一原子力発電所の視察の方の対応をしますのでよろしくお願いいたします。
He is in charge of this study tour into the power plant. So he will be the guide for the power plant tour.
these are everybody who's entering here and the passport.
その後ですね、福島第一原子力発電所に向かいまして、
1 hour.
戻ってきまして、それから口から入れるですね、ガム飴、こう書いてありませんけど、飲み物、タバコ、これも持ち込みです。
You have lots of keys, your coins in your pocket. Just leave it. Enter the power plant from this gate to this office first. We get on their bus to look around the site, and we are allowed to get off the bus at this observatory, which is just 80 meters away from the reactors. We will get on the bus to the reactor 5 and 6. These are facilities which were damaged by the earthquake and the tsunami. We come back to the area, the entrance, and we will see the actual treated tritium water in the bottle.
There's some places no cameras.
All entrances are blocked like this, and here is the entrance to the Daiichi nuclear reactor, and only vehicles that are belonging to the plant are allowed to enter. And as you can see, there are guardmen. There were 1,000 cherry trees planted on the grounds of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor power plant. And they had to remove about 600 of those cherry blossoms trees because they didn't have space anymore where to put those huge containers where the water, the tritium water, is being stored. However, there were still 400 cherry trees that remained on the premises of the power plant, so that the people who work there can have, to some extent, their hearts healed by watching these beautiful flowers. 400 sakura trees scattered inside Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant and in bloom, because now they are in bloom, so just like here. So actually this area is so full of cherry blossoms everywhere.
North and south, 3.5 kilometers, and 1 kilometer east and west. East and the Pacific Ocean is here. It's 3.5 million square meters. Actually, originally this ground level is higher, which was 35 meters above sea level. To have 6 reactors alongside this coast. They needed to have a very hard bedrock to build the reactors. So they dig down around 25 meters to reach the hard bedrock. So then the reactors 1, 2, 3, 4 are built on the 10 meters above sea level eventually. Unit 5 and 6 are built 30 meters above the sea level on the hard bedrock. That was before the disaster, of course. And first, when the earthquake occurred, the power plant lost power. However, the backup diesel generators started working. They are located in the basement under this reactor zone. The diesel started working to supply power for cooling and without any problem. But about 15 minutes later, the big tsunami and backup diesels also were dead by the tsunami. And eventually the power plant couldn't keep the reactors cool at all, and units 1, 2, 3 each had a meltdown without cooling facilities. Units 1, 3, and 4 each had a hydrogen explosion. 5 and 6 lost also their backup diesel generators. But there is one independent backup diesel on the ground which could work to supply power to units 1, 5, and 6. That's why unit 5 and 6 was saved by this backup diesel generator on the ground. So the 2 reactors didn't have any accident. This is the borderline. This side is Okuma town and this side is Futaba town. So the Okuma areas, most of the areas are now paved. Impermeable, paved. The areas has been paved.
Inside on the grounds of the nuclear power plant, there was the main area where everything was paved. So all the soil would be covered, paved, like we can see here. So even more, so that rainwater cannot seep in the soil and reach all the way to underground water, and from there enter the most dangerous part of the nuclear reactor, where the cores are still there and gets contaminated, and then they have to decontaminate it. And it's really a problem that will take so many years to fix. And they built a wall that freezes everything in place, so there is a frozen barrier just around the reactors, but it's still impossible to completely isolate and to completely stop new rainwater to enter the underground and to get contaminated and then have to be decontaminated.
To curb the permeation of rainwater going into the underground and seeping into the reactors. First, we will see this Okuma site, so please check the ground surface, it will be all paved.
You are inside, you are walking on such grounds where there is absolutely no soil, everything completely sealed and paved, but then there are the cherry blossoms that come out of this, and kind of like such a feel here in the park. The cherry blossoms are the only thing alive that is still allowed to be there inside the nuclear reactor's grounds.
But the Futaba area, because the reactors didn't have accident, so this area has not been paved. You can see many soil surface. And now this area will become the storage area for the contaminated material from the reactors. The yellow zone is the water tank area to keep the purified water from the reactors. The contaminated water will be purified by several equipment and store the purified tritium water in this zone, the yellow zone. Units 1 and 2 spent fuel assemblies are still in the pool. They couldn't still access to the pools yet. There are many reasons not being able to access to the pool yet, because one reason is at Unit 1, there are, on top of this spent fuel pool, there is a highly contaminated rubble just on the pool there. That looks like this. This is due to the explosion, so this rubble is still highly contaminated. So to access to the pool, what they have to do is to get rid of this contaminated rubble first. They're gonna later soon, in the near future, they're gonna build the cover all for this unit one. They can get rid of the the contaminated rubble first, and then access to the pool to get rid of the nuclear spent fuel pools retrieval. And the unit two, the inside of the buildings radiation levels are very high. Human access is really not possible yet. So they are now building one chamber on the side of unit two, and from this chamber, the remote controlled robot will be working. Also, they are building the new scaffolding for the retrieval of the melted spent fuel rods from the pool. They're going to try to retrieve the spent fuel rods from the sidewall. About the melted fuel debris, at unit 1 to 3, the nuclear fuel assemblies were in the cores of unit 1 to 3. The power plant lost cooling, so eventually the core melted, the nuclear fuel melted in the core and melted through the core and still stay at the bottom of the reactors, which is a mixture of the concrete materials and the nuclear fuel itself, which is called the melted fuel debris.
合わせてですね、約880トン、これ
developed robot, so the robot arm to pick up a small amount of melted fuel debris from the reactor from the 60 centimeters cubic hole from the outside to the reactor. In collaboration with the British company.
And everywhere there is barbed wire, especially the areas where visitors are getting out of the bus, but also all around where the workers are coming and entering, and like there's barbed wire on top and down and full of cameras everywhere, like the highest security prison in United States, probably even more than that, because one thing they are worrying about is terror, like some crazy person getting a bomb in there and creating an even bigger problem than what it's now. And also when the buses of the employees are coming inside, there are checks with the mirrors under the buses to really make sure that there is no bomb or something put on the bottom of the bus. So the security is taken very, very serious inside this Daiichi nuclear power plant.
To be cooled all the time because it emits heat. Of course, the cooling water become contaminated once it comes into contact with the melted fuel debris. So the water should be purified by these several equipments. So the water is purified. Water then goes around this system, become again the cooling water. However, the rainwater and the groundwater are always seeping into the reactor zone through the cracks to the earthquakes and explosions. So that becomes kind of additional water, and additional water also become contaminated. Additional water is happening 130 cubic meters per day. Additional water needs to be purified by this multi-nuclide removal equipment called ALPS. At the ALPS, the water, 62 radioactive nuclides are removed, but the tritium cannot be removed by any equipment. So the tritium remains in the water. And that water is called the tritium water, and tritium water are installed in this yellow zone.
When you enter, they have like at the airport those X-ray machines, and so you will be scanned. Of course, before that they say you shouldn't bring any metal and just empty your pockets, and you are leaving them on the table in the presentation room, and then they take you by bus to the actual entrance into the facility, and there you are screened with the X-ray, and when you come out you are being screened for radiation. so that they can see how much was accumulated in your body. And you also receive an attachment to measure the radiation that has been accumulated in your visit, in the time of your visit. Actually, it's so little, even just 100 meters in front of the exploded buildings, you are allowed to stay there for a couple of minutes outside of the bus. But in total, what the machine has measured on my body was as much as 2 x-rays at the dentist. So actually it's very secure and of course very well planned and considered how to make this safe. This tour, there were many scientists who came from United Kingdom and Germany, nuclear scientists, so it was very good for them, and it's a special tour for foreigners. And you have to apply long in advance because they don't do this every day. And so they have many videos explaining each of the reactors, how they exploded and why they exploded, why everything happened. We are not allowed to take pictures and videos in those areas. But there are parts like this here where you can film and take pictures. And they have very detailed explanation of these fuel rods and how it was possible. And then they have these robots that are going to remove the remaining residue after the fuel melted and fell down. And so this is what's going on now to remove. So this is probably what the people are wearing, the stuffs, when they are performing this cleaning.
何が一番ベストなのか、デブリを取り出して、じゃあ最終的にどんな処分の仕方をするのか、持っていきようがないものをどこに持っていくのっていうのもあるし、そういう矛盾したことがいっぱいあるんだけど、それも解決できてないし、だけどああいった現場のところはそれに向かって一生懸命働いてるんですよね。あの姿はすごいなって思ってるんだ。原発は止めるんだったらどういうふうに止める、どういうふうにその分の電力を作り出せる、それを一人一人が考えなきゃいけないんだけど、もうみんな忘れさせてるよなっていう気がこの頃してて、あれだけの4基の原発が損傷を受けて、あそこまで一応持ちこたえながら収まってるっていうのは奇跡だと私は思ってるのね。チェルノブイリの1基のあの原発の事故でどれだけの被害を受けたか、それを考えれば確かに頑張ったのね、現場の人たちは。ただただお金を垂れ流すだけじゃなくて、そのお金を生かす、私たちがここまで、来たことも、ありがたいんだけども、ただお金だけじゃないっていうことをやっぱりみんな考えてほしいかなって思う。
And so the opinions are split in between, would it be good to open this part of the nuclear power plant and use it not as a touristic attraction, but to let people of the world more and more come and to learn about this and experience it in person, and after that to have a better solution for whatever they are doing back in their countries. And if tourism would be allowed and would be promoted, it would help the region, of course, because now they cannot produce so many agricultural products like they used to do before this nuclear disaster. So they could do like Chernobyl and to let tourists come. But the TEPCO, the company, does not want to make a touristic, let's say, attraction. So they just want to clean everything as if nothing happened. And yes, they do want to keep some of the elements that were destroyed through the power of the tsunami or the power of the earthquake, those huge metal towers, to let them there so that they remain like an archive of what happened in humanity's history. As of now, cesium and strontium are completely removed from the water, and there is only a small amount of tritium in this Alps treated water. However, tritium is a very weak radiation that can be even stopped by a piece of paper, and by diluting this tritium water, the concentration can be extremely weak. That's why it is safe to discharge it in the ocean. And they are monitoring the environment when they are discharging it, but there are no changes to even wildlife. Actually, all these countries in the world are discharging tritium water in the oceans, not only Japan. However, the Japanese government and TEPCO pledged to compensate for businesses if they have any reputational damage from this Alps treated water. The deposits in the tanks storing Alps do not contain any significant amount of radioactive material. And as of 2020, there are no adverse health effects now, and also in the future. Based on world's strictest standards, the food and drinking water from Fukushima is within the standard values. And the radiation in the air of Fukushima is actually half of the one in Seoul and less than Berlin and New York.